Hey everybody, and welcome to the live stream. My name is Nadia. I'm a UK Global Talent Visa recipient and coach, which means that I got endorsed for this visa myself as a software engineer. I prepared all the documents myself without any external help. And later I decided that it would be good to give back and start sharing information about this visa and also helping people get endorsed for this visa as a coach. And this is what I have been doing for the last year. I think, it's almost a year. So really excited to see you join live. If you're new here, if you have been here in the past, let us know in the comments where you're joining us from. Say hi. It all helps YouTube pick up this live stream and show it to more people. So today I have a very special live stream. I'm actually talking to one of my former clients who I've helped get endorsed for the visa quite recently. So this summer, it was just in the last, I think, 3 months. Welcome Sabir. Welcome to the live stream.
Hey Nadia. Hey. Thanks so much for your welcome.
Thank you so much for joining and spending time with us on the summer evening. I wonder how many people will tune in. So if you're watching live, let us know in the comments. So let's start with some intros. Maybe you could tell us a bit about yourself. So I did mention this in the intro, but I usually help people with technical backgrounds. So people applying for the technician route, not only software engineers, but also, product managers, marketers, and, business executives and just startup founders and like people both on the technical side and the business side. So in your case, you have a technical background. Maybe you could tell us a bit more about where you're from, what you do for a living, what is kind of your background story.
Sure. Hey everyone. My name is Sabir. I'm originally from Azerbaijan, and I did my bachelor in the computer science and studied in Azerbaijan, and afterwards I did my MBA on the computing information systems. And actually, during that time, I worked as a software engineer in the multiple companies, but definitely experience was like in the mid-level. And then I decided to have the one more master degree to have deep dive on the more like computer graphics, data science topics. So I moved to Germany, and I studied in Germany the second master. And right after I graduated from the university, I got the offer from the Kerim, which is acquired by Uber. You can think is as the Uber in the Middle East. I moved to Berlin, worked there about 2 years. It was really, really challenging and interesting products. I was part of Maps team where we basically built like the map infrastructure for the estimating time of arrival of the driver, like all the delivery foods or whatever you will need the estimation of the map and the map related information. Our infrastructure help you. And then luckily I got the offer from the Meta, and in the 2020 in August I moved to London. And from the day one, I actually chose to work on the WhatsApp, and then I become engineer in the WhatsApp business product. And like 3 years I'm working on the WhatsApp. That's a bit about me.
Interesting. So what was it like for you to move from Azerbaijan to Berlin and then to the UK? Was it challenging for you to get used to new countries? How was your experience like?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like all these moves, like actually, like coming from the Germany to Germany and from Germany to UK, it's like the cultural, like full difference. That's why it was like about like a bit hard, not honestly hard, but sort of like very interesting to see like the absolutely different cultures and the different mindsets. For moving to the Germany, it was like a clear purpose that I want to study and then like build my career there. Actually, the work in Azerbaijan was also good. Like industry is actually going up continuously, but I feel that I need more education, and like my degree is not. I don't feel like super strong on the scientific side, so that was really helpful. And then coming to Meta, actually, after getting the offer from the Meta, it was like a bit hard to say no, to be honest. Like it's a big thing in for my position and for my career, it's really good choice. And then when I joined, during these 3 years, I think that like the UK is the right sport for my lifestyle, for the way I want to see my like future living there. So that's why, I'm here, and to be honest, super happy.
Interesting. So I'm guessing you initially moved to the UK on the skilled worker visa sponsored by Meta, which is, I think, the most common route for people to move. What was the experience like getting this visa? Was it any difficult for you? Was it, did you have any difficulties with it? Yeah.
For when you are getting the offer, and the Meta is basically covering all this stuff, all the documentation and the visa process. And at that time, I think that Deloitte was helping with the supporting the visa process. So it's actually pretty straightforward. And but generally, definitely there is a particular limitation on the T2 visa, and you're basically buying the company. You cannot like you have particular things you can run in the country and the work, and that's everything is bounded with Meta, which is like makes sense on this skilled worker visa. But yeah, that was a point where I started thinking about after 3 years actually, like still thinking about like is there other choices? I had ways to get the visa and which will give you more flexibility on what you want to build, what you want to run parallel. So yeah.
So how did you learn about the global talent visa?
Actually, one of my friends, Meta, got endorsement, and I just like I never heard about that. And then he explained me that that's the disadvantages. He actually at that time moved to a different company, which is like US based company. So from there I understood that yeah, okay, there is a one more visa which is allowing you this like allows that like additional advantages, but in general, process-wise, I wasn't sure actually, like what is the exact criterias, like because a naming saying the exceptional talents like looks very strong and it's really, really, like scary when you're reading it. So from starting from there, I first time heard about it, and then I actually forget about like around like 8 months as I didn't pay attention more on this. But on the during wasn't I think it was in the May with my friends. We think that okay we had something we run, and then we decided that okay why not to run something one more like product on the London and see how the market will react. But then I realized that unfortunately, like visa doesn't allow, you cannot do that. But yeah, that was a bit like sad part. So that then I decided, okay, maybe it's the right choice to try T1 and see if there's possibility I can get it, and then launch like do some MVPs and see the reaction and learn from the feedbacks from the market. So yeah, that was actually the step when I thinking about the T1.
Yeah, so for people who aren't maybe familiar with like the distinctions between skilled worker and global talent, and also I didn't mention this in the beginning, but if you're watching this live, feel free to ask your questions down in the chat. We'll be happy to answer them. They can be related to visas, but probably also like wider tech-related, career and tech-related issues as well. So yeah, for context, if you are working on a skilled worker visa, which is the most common type of visa you would get if you move to the UK to work for somebody, you will be dependent on your employer. Each visa has kind of an intention behind them, right? So if you have a skilled worker visa, the intention behind this visa is that you work for somebody, right, in a specific job, and you are very limited in what you can do outside of work. So for instance, you cannot really have your own side hustle or side business legally, and there are other limitations in place as well. And I think a very common reason for why people explore global talent visa is because it's such a free visa that you sponsor for yourself, right? So the process is that you need to prove to a body that endorses the visa, in our case, Tech Nation, that you are worthy of this visa, of this title, of a global talent. And then you have the complete freedom to do basically whatever you please. So you can, have your own business. You can work for a company, for a UK-based company, for an American company, to have your own startup, to go to study, or to be self-employed. And work as a sole trader in like other occupations as well. So I think that's a pretty awesome way to think about it, and it's just a visa that gives you so much more freedom than a work visa would. So when you decided to give it a try, what was your process like? How did you research it? How did you get started on the process of getting endorsed?
Yeah, when I actually checked the visas, like there was a couple of options. Like one, like definitely the global talent was the optimal one, which is allowing you to keep your work and at the same time focus if you have the side hustle to launch something on the market. So w- first idea was that after reading the Technician website, like okay, I will just prepare my documents, apply, and basically we'll wait the response. But then during like couple of weeks with my friends, we saw that actually we have the good pace, like the product is going good. So maybe we will need this visa much earlier, and even in like around the September, November. So when I checked like the couple of different companies, which is like the processes that they are helping there, I saw that the time is going like more than 6 months, which is doesn't work for me. And then one of my friends actually referred you saying that, yeah, just like maybe it's better to just call and discuss. That was actually the great moment. Like I think like first time it was like 5th of June. I message you that like I'm just trying to thinking about the global talent. You suggest me that maybe let's have a short call to discuss if it really works for you. What's your background? Can you even just think about it? So yeah, from there we actually scheduled the call with you. That was the helpful that we actually figured out together that yeah, the achievements during last 5 years is looks like suitable for that visa. And thing that I want to achieve and I want to launch is also like the good argument. So basically pieces came together and we decided that yeah, actually it's the right time to join. And then um, we can discuss it more deeply, but generally there was one small problem. I actually want to do it like much faster. Like my idea was that to get everything done on the month, and you said that it's impossible. And even like even if you will help me in all this, it's still impossible to do that. So then you did great, like the suggestions there. I think like you make a good plan that first we are starting like this strategy, like we're defining our plan for all the topics. Then things come to my side that I continuously pushing, like building all the necessary documents, like what the innovation I need to document and the impact and my CV, personal statement. And from there, we will do interactive like feedback sessions where I'm preparing something, you are reviewing, and then I'm fixing it, and then I'm preparing another one. So on that scale, we thought that during 1 month, we need to finish it. So that was very aggressive plan, but was really actually helpful. So yeah, if you want, we can move from there.
Yeah.
I can explain all these steps, but
Yeah. Let's talk maybe about first about your documents, so that we get the value out, and then afterwards we can talk about our cooperation and do a bit more of a selling part of it towards the end. So yeah, let's talk about your documents because I think this is what people tune in for. So you are a software engineer, right? Could you talk to us a little bit about the criteria that we ended up choosing and which kind of documents then we chose? I think we can talk, first about the criteria and then talk about each of the criteria and how we prove them.
Yeah, definitely. So the criteria we picked was on the impact, like the founder project impact. Another one was the innovation. For and the thing is that they're only looking for the last 5 years, so we need to find like very strong points on the project impact for the last 5 years, and at the same time for the innovation. So actually, that two criterias, I wasn't sure about the innovation. Where you built the schedule, I remember we put everything there, all the projects I did and the achievements, and then we come together to the point that we are really good match on the innovation and the project impact. So that's why we just focus on these two directions.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then the other documents was on the definitely I asked from the recommendation, and other documents for the mandatory field were showing your leadership skills.
Yeah. So in your case, we chose the first criteria, so optional criteria 1 and optional criteria 3, which I think is quite a common setup for software engineers who I coach. There is this misconception, I think, that it's basically impossible to meet the first criteria unless you are a founder of a very successful innovative startup. It's not the case, actually. So you can, like, I've coached quite a number of people who've been able to meet the first criteria. And I think this is where most people get super confused. Like, how do you prove it if you are not a founder, right? Or if you don't work on something that is like completely, at the tip of the innovation in the world. So maybe you could tell us a bit more about how did we prove innovation in your case, since you're an employee, right? So what kind of, just high level, we don't need to talk about details here, but like what the documents could look like for somebody who is an engineer working in a company.
Yeah, that is the part actually I was from the beginning I did mistakes. So when you are looking for the innovation, actually that is the piece that never done before, or if it's even done, you are bring some new approach, which is have real benefits. So because like I always mixed it up with the impact, like whatever innovation I show, sure, innovation brings the impact, like you need to mention that, but the biggest point you need to clearly state in the document that why it's innovation. like your even references should explain it clearly. So then this argument becomes stronger that, yeah, really it's in the innovation of the market. So in my case, my innovation points, one was from the WhatsApp product, in the WhatsApp, what I did. And then unfortunately, due to India, I cannot deep dive on the product, but that was the new approach for the building product. Another one was on the my previous company, Kareem, where we build map optimization. So in a nutshell, if I would explain this, you can imagine that on the cities and where you are estimating time of arrival of the car from point A to point B, there definitely could be roadblocks, or there could be some problems on the road, or if there is some road that we don't know. So this actually parameters can impact your estimation, and your estimation could be higher or lower. So basically, the idea on this, the algorithm was that to find that blocks, build infrastructure where you can continuously update your maps in the real time, and you can always be up to date on when you are driving going through on this road. We always up to date on the state of this road. And it's not only covering the solving the problem, but it's also like as open source, so that you are basically not impacting only single company, but you're impacting all the companies and the communities that using that open source product. So yeah, that was the second product. And the third one, it's also like, I don't want to deep dive, but it's a thing that actually reason why I choose Global Talent to test my predictions, like the product that I want to launch on the market. So that was one of the also like the brand new, the approach that we want to take. So I just wrote about it more deeply, more detailed, like why it's like innovation. And yeah, that was a
So I think high level, thank you for sharing this. High level, I think, for people who are considering this criteria. So first of all, like, why would you choose this criteria if it's so difficult to prove, right? I think unfortunately for a lot of people, it's the only criteria, the only second criteria that you can choose, right? So if you choose the third one, which is impact, which is pretty much everybody got it, then you're left with the second and first, second, and fourth is education, or academic criteria, which frankly speaking most people can't meet. Then you have the innovation and the outside contributions. And I think for outside contributions, if you don't really have this much, a lot of experience with volunteering or community building, it's very hard to meet this criteria at this point. It used to be easier, but now it's just difficult. And for the first criteria, it's quite possible to meet it if you have worked on some new projects at some companies that do innovations, right? So if you are in a situation like this, obviously you're very welcome to reach out to me and kind of have a session with me, or you can just think it on your own and brainstorm, right? Like we did with you. So you can create a mind map of all the projects that you have worked on and basically choose the ones that look most innovative, right? And what you mentioned here is a very common mistake that a lot of people make when they are talking about innovation. They would just talk about impact, and they would be just talking about something that they've done, and for instance, how much money it brought. And this is, I think, number one reason to be rejected for the first criteria, where it seems to the person that they have explained innovation, right? They're saying that I have done a project X and it brought this much money, and they think that they have explained innovation, but it doesn't really explain innovation. It just explains that you've done something that is, that has substantial impact, commercial impact, but I think can make money without being innovative, right? So I think in your case as well, we worked on this, and this is, I think, probably the hardest part of the application for a lot of engineers, because this is where during the review sessions that we've had, I usually have to like pull out the innovation explanation out of people, because it kind of seems obvious that something is innovative. But if you are writing about innovation, you should remember that for technician assessor, it won't be obvious. They are not an expert in your field. They're not expected to understand all of the stuff. You have to explain it to them. And I think a very good approach is to have like different examples of innovation. You need to have a track record, right? So it would be really ideal for somebody to have an example from one job, then a second example from another job. And then I think like if you're having some sort of side project or a startup idea on the side, this is also something that people can use, right? If it's an innovative idea, if there is some traction or something like this, you can use it as well. And then you have this like wide-ranging picture of you as an innovator, which I think is really nice. And also importantly, in your letters of recommendation, it's really good if your recommenders mention you as an innovator who has innovated a lot, basically. So it all has to come together in the end. And I think this is where so many people come to me who work on their own on their applications or with some agencies or something like this, and they get rejected for innovation. And I look at their documents and it's like, but you haven't explained the innovation here. So of course they rejected it, right? So yeah, this was the innovation part. For the third criteria, we chose some projects that you described, right? So it was with metrics and with kind of explanations of what the impact was. And anything that you would like to share on the third criteria, anything that maybe you learned or was new for you or challenging for you, or just anything that might be useful for people working on the third criteria.
Yeah, the first of all, I think like both these optional criteria, it's really, really important like to have the reference, like somebody can also like because I think that you need to make like these 3 pages, like always like I know that it's like the 2 pages really like the very small, like for putting everything on the one project, but it's better to keep the third one if someone can be the reference and share its opinion about this innovation, because then when you are reading your innovation, it's clearly that you're explaining why it's innovation, and somebody can also share its opinion, which is like the good in this his area, that why it's also innovation. And that's the same for the impact as well. So for the impact part, like the good suggestion I got from you regarding to showing the clearly the numbers, like talking with numbers mostly, make sure that you have clear statement on the impact, and not like giving 2x 3x, sometimes even it's not clear, like because like it's very abstract, but giving exactly that, like this amount, if it's possible, it will be very beneficial. And the another point it was helpful, I think, was mentioning the media. For example, like the projects that I did, like 2 of them was on the TechCrunch, and also like the posted from the couple of well-known people. So that was actually a good thing also mention if it's possible, if you have. And yeah, that's actually was on 2 of my projects I mentioned.
Yeah, to also for people listening to this, to clarify what we're talking about is, for each criteria you need to submit at least two unique documents. Sometimes people use two, sometimes three, right? And then you have 3 pages for each of those evidence pieces. So what I advise people to do very often, it works really well so far. So you have 2 pages where you describe the project. You maybe have some screenshots or some other kind of graphical artifacts of you actually working on this thing, and then another third page, or it can be first page and then 2 about the project, doesn't matter. But like 1 page out of 3 is a letter, like a shorter reference letter from another expert. So it's a separate expert, not the one that wrote your main letter of recommendation, where they talk about this project, right? So for instance, if you need somebody to write your reference letter for this particular purpose, you can tell them that, I'm talking about project X. Could you please talk about my impact and the metrics and things like that. And for third criteria, as you said, numbers, they rule here. If you don't have numbers, you really should try to get on them and get them somehow. Or you can like at least use some approximations or something like, of course, like concrete numbers are better. And just talking from experience, people use numbers there. So if you are not using them, you are kind of shooting yourself in the foot a little bit here and diminishing the chances of getting endorsed. So for the third criteria, I would say that it's quite easy to meet, in the sense that if you're working in a product-led company and you have projects where you were leading them and then the projects move the needle somehow, then I think it's quite possible to meet this criteria, provided that you show that you were instrumental to the growth of the business through your project, right? So then we didn't talk about the mandatory criteria. Maybe we can talk about it. Mandatory is about leadership, right? And proving that you're a leader in tech. What kind of documents did we end up using for this criteria?
Yeah, sure. Just to the small addition for the impact, I think, like one of the mistakes I did there before your review, that to making it simple, like because like as an engineer when you're writing, I think that okay, if I will explain clearly how it's solved and how it implemented and all the complexity we basically figured out, that would be beneficial. But actually keeping it simple, and the people that will read don't have the same experience with you. So that's why I always believe that the pictures are talking better than the words in some cases. So better if you have the product images and how its flow works. In my case, for example, one of them was a product where I can just put examples from the screenshots, and it exactly shows how the thing is working and what's the actual, from there goes the impact. So yeah, that was actually I think that one of the things I did mistake and
Hmm.
improved. Regarding mandatory, there was like the four documents I actually added. The one of them was like definitely information about your compensation. As you shared with me that the big tech companies are paying really good, and it's actually one of the things technician can accept if you're proving that you are earning for your role from above the average salary in the market, and there's have a huge gap. And then actually it's one of the strong the point for them to understand that yeah, you are different than the same role for the others from the experience level. And then I used another doc for the media mentions. So basically, when we had the meeting with you to go through all the career and see what we can build, and there was so many newses, like the different news. There was newspaper, websites where they mentioned and wrote about me. One of them was like about how I reached the meta, and another one was what's the experience working in the WhatsApp, how to build that scale of products. Another one was like basically life in the UK and Germany. So basically, we collect all of them. But actually, the point was that that websites and this medias actually need to be a bit like the bigger scale. I think that the four of them I mentioned, that was like all of them was more than a million followers on the Facebook, and generally one of them was the newspaper. So yeah, I just put to explain the scale, I just put the numbers from the Wikipedia to make it more clear. And then one more was the YouTube, the live in the one channel I had the live interview. We just discussed about the AR VR topic, so I just added that as well. That was actually also like the more than a million followers, so I think that was the good spot to add there. So yeah, then the second topic, the document was like media mentions, which is covered the YouTube video and all other websites and the newspapers that wrote about me and the experience. Okay, if you want to add something, just let me know. I'm just moving to the third one.
Yeah. So yeah, for this document, I think for the salary, I think your salary for this to work, it has to be substantially higher than the average, right? So it has to be exceptionally high. I would say that there are a lot of misconceptions around the salary. People think that, okay, I just need to submit my salary, whatever it is. It's not true. I would say that I no longer advise people who don't work in big tech to submit it at all if they have something better to submit for mandatory, right? So in case of somebody working at Meta or Google, I would still advise to use it unless you have something like publication somewhere major or award or something like this. Then it's still a good document. But for people who earn kind of a little bit above average, I don't think it's worth it. It doesn't really prove leadership if you think about it. And yeah, media publications are very important. I think in your case, you had quite a lot of them. So we had them in different languages. So we used them, we compiled all of them and submitted them. Yeah, was there anything else
Yeah,
there?
actually, that's a good point. Like there was one of them was a different language, so you actually suggest me to go and translate it. So that was a very good point. We basically
Mm-hmm.
translate it, so translation doesn't get the play. So basically, if even you are using additional page for putting your translation, it's still fine. So don't worry about the page limitation. And yeah, the third one was public talk. So there actually public talks and mentorship. That's the name of the title of the document. So basically, I use there like the one page. One page was half for the conference where I attended as a speaker. The topic was WhatsApp end-to-end encryption, and I basically wrote about that, like basically what was the impact of the what kind of feedback we received. And then there was one of the references from the CEO of our company shared their experience, like afterwards they tried to connect to WhatsApp, and the things that I explained there that was really beneficial for their integration. So the conference was live, I think more than 2K people was watching live. So I think it was like the pretty good size for the public conference. And the second point was regarding mentorship. Actually, 2 years ago, I had another MVP like product I built was helping engineers to get offer from the big tech companies. So basically, it was like online platform where you can join and you can me and other engineers from big tech companies can explain you the important topics on the algorithm and the system design. So yeah, actually we use it for a year. We have enough a good amount of students. So I basically wrote about that, like how we help the students. And at that time we didn't get uh, any huge scale, to be honest, but the impact was good. So students got really like the good places and they shared their feedback. So that feedbacks I also include in the document. And
Hmm.
yeah, that was the third document. And the last one was advising startups. So in general, most probably it was clear from the context that I really passionate about startups and even like the spare time, I'm just talking to founders and like love to meet and basically share the knowledge, ideas, what they are doing, how they are solving particular problems. So during that communications, they like basically luckily they happened that I was part of a couple of startups and discussions, basically advising them, helping them on different decisions and technically. So yeah, there I basically explained that which startups I worked, like what was my role, what was my impact, and the feedbacks from their CEOs or the venture capitals that invested to them and they saw the impact. So that was basically the 3 pages about all this. But I think, as I remember, that was the only doc that I put two references, and
Hmm.
one page was just about the impact and not impact. I mean, like my role and support to them. But the 2 pages was for the references.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that it's for the startups. I think a lot of people use this kind of document for the second criteria if they choose it. However, if you're not choosing it, it doesn't mean that you have to throw out all the stuff that is kind of outside of work activities, right? You can always present it as a demonstration of leadership as well, right? So you can explain why you were asked to advise the startup, like why you were asked to mentor people, what the impact was. Because if you think about it, the fact that you mentor somebody or you were asked maybe to lead a course or to lecture somewhere, it is also a signal to being a leader in the industry, and those documents work quite well as well in my practice. But you have to explain why you're using them, right? You cannot just throw stuff at the assessor and hope that they understand like why this is here. It all has to make sense and it has to holistically come together. So yeah, in terms of like all of the process itself, right? So maybe we can talk about kind of how it ran, what it looked like in practice, because what I see, unfortunately, still is that people would still get very confused about the packages and the services that I offer. I have descriptions on my website, I have videos on my website that explain them, but maybe it would still be helpful if it comes from somebody who went through this process. So maybe you can just briefly tell us like what it was like, so what the strategy session was like and the review, and what, if anything, you found helpful about the services.
Sure. So first, like, let me repeat the experience, like basically why we was in the hurry. So when I start like deciding to apply to the global talent, the problem was that I want to get it faster. The idea was that on because I know that it can take 8 weeks, like first stage, and then I think like around 8 weeks second stage. So I expected that it will end the worst case scenario in the 4 months, which is pretty long. So I decided to just like apply right now. And after talking to you, we like basically a short call. I think we figured out that yeah, let's like jump to the call, have like see if it really like my points, that what I achieved and what I did is really met for the global talent visa requirements, and then basically decide next steps. Because at that time we didn't decide anything. We just go to the first call, and then week after, I think like beginning of the June, we talked to you, and then the week after we had the meeting there, where I shared with you all the projects, like all this media mentions, thing that I like did on the last 5 years, and then we basically build all the optional criterias, mandatory docs, and you said that yeah, I mean that sorry. Not there. We basically in the first call we said that yeah, you're meeting the criteria, And if I want to go to the next steps, there's a particular packages. There was a strategy package, review, and I think premium. In my case, I think I remember I pushed like, can we do premium faster? Like, can you make all this like 3 weeks? And that was a bit like impossible, because like you had a lot of work at that time, and I joined lately, and I'm asking to be in the high priority, like, but it's definitely impossible. So there you actually make a good suggestion that it will be very fast if you will start writing it, and first like doing strategy package, where we will have first call. Will you share with me beforehand like document where I put all the information I have, and I've basically even filled the criteria projects that I think it matches. So then you review it. Then during the call, like 3 hours call, we did it like I think like in two pieces to use it time wisely. And yeah, basically where we discuss like all the criterias, documents, how we will like basically write it, how much time we can invest on each of them, and think about from whom we need to get recommendation. I think it's also a very important point. And for there, afterwards you share the recommendation, like sorry, the recordings, and during this the recording was like the first two videos I actually watched later to exactly understand that which exact media mentions I need to use, and which exact document for the mandatory I need to focus. And then even with, I remember we didn't discuss with you the review package. We said that yeah, that's good, I will just write by myself. And yeah, and then I start basically writing the documents. Uh, at the middle, one of the document, I think in the two of them, you basically review two of them, even in the strategy package, to give me the direction that if I'm in the right direction or not. And then at that review, I understand that yeah, I'm writing it, but actually, what I'm thinking that important is actually it's wrong, because I need to think exact points I need to mention. So that's why you ask me to to rewrite whole doc again, which wasn't comfortable at that moment for me, to because like limited time I need to write again. So yeah, then I decide that definitely I need the review package. So now about the review package. Basically, and also another important thing is when you are picking the people for recommendation, it's really, really important. Make sure that you are picking the one that leaders on that area. In my case, I picked the director of engineering in WhatsApp, and then from the previous company, director of engineering, and the one CEO of the very good successful startup. But it's really important that they know your work, and they also the leaders in their industry. So basically, their point will be much stronger on that sense. So yeah, afterwards we move to the review package. Thanks, Nadia, that I think you at that moment you just came from the vacation, and I just asked you if you can help me. That was really helpful. So what we did
Yeah.
during that time, I think like 1 week and a half passed. Like we have 1-2 weeks, because that's my plan, is that I need to finish in 3 weeks, apply, and then after like the 2-3 months I get the answer. So that's why you suggest that let's do like rapid form, where I will write one document, like we had the session, everything is clear, and then write document, send me, jump to another document, and you will find the all the necessary things that I need to fix. You will send me back, I will send you a new doc, and I'm fixing it, and then you will just review the new one. So that was super agile. Like it's really, really agile, the approach. But that was really
Yeah.
helpful. Like I think the third week, end of third week, we finish all the docs, and half of them, I think, yeah, all the docs finished. I think like the recommendation letters, one recommendation letter was they was written. We just need to wait a week because they need to write and sign. It will take time, and the mandatory documents also all finished. And then fourth week, I think I got all the recommendation letters, my package completed, and then we basically applied for the
Yeah.
visa. So basically, yeah. And the interesting thing is, start afterwards when
Yeah.
I think in the fourth week, end of fourth week. Sorry, yeah, we applied in the fourth week, and then in the next week, in the beginning, I had a flight for my vacation. So when I order taxi, I just want take my laptop and then put in the bag. And the last time I checked my email, I saw that I got the email from home office.
Mm.
I read that, okay, they're saying me that you basically, got the endorsement from, we got the email from technician that you had endorsed for the global talent. I didn't believe. I remember I sent it to my friend and to you as well that this is spam, because the
Yeah.
6 days it's impossible to get the response. And then you reviewed it. They said that, oh, congratulations, that's you got the endorsement. So yeah, that was a really, really great moment. Like, and I know that during whole holidays, like I was super happy. Like
Yeah.
I feel so good.
Yeah, it's amazing that you only waited 6 days, because at that point I
Yeah.
still had clients who were stuck in this limbo of people who applied at the point where technician was closing. So it was like March, April, and they had to wait for over 2 months, some of them even longer, and they were still waiting. And then you got endorsed in less than a week, which I think was pretty
So,
incredible. And yeah, I remember your message like, "Is it a fake email?" And I'm like, "No, it's legitimate," but still, it was so surprising that it was so quick. But also for context, so this is August 2023. Decisions are coming back very quickly these days, so it's very fast right now. I'm not sure what changed within technician, but yeah, decisions are coming very quick. So if you apply, you will hear back. You might hear back quite quickly, which I think is a nice benefit. But also, I think what has happened recently is that it has become much harder to get the visa. So I think it's especially amazing that you got the visa, given how difficult the process has become. So here, I wanted to also do a little announcement that next Monday I'm doing a webinar here on YouTube. It will be on LinkedIn as well, about reasons why you might get rejected. So if you're interested to apply and you want to avoid potential mistakes that people make, I do suggest that you mark your calendars and you come and watch it live, because you will get to ask me questions and do all of that. I think recently I've seen a lot more rejections on forums, Telegram chats, and just generally the feeling that I get from talking to other coaches who help with this and other people who just try to apply is that it's become harder. The stakes are higher and the bar is much higher. So to avoid potential mistakes that can cost you the visa, I invite you to visit this webinar and to just talk about it, and hopefully help you increase your chances of getting the visa. So yeah, I'm sure it was amazing to get the decision so quickly, and then spend the vacation just kind of relaxing and knowing that this is kind of
yeah.
behind you already. So if you look back on this process, you mentioned that it was very agile and very quick, which for me is really great feedback to hear as a coach, because that's the point that I'm trying to make with this package of strategy and the review, which is currently the package that I offer. So the benefit here is that if you have time to work on your documents, you will get them done very quickly. I don't think that it's possible to get this kind of speed if you work with a big agency, unless they are, they have such like availability, and they can guarantee this shorter time span. So if you are in a hurry, like for instance you were, right, you should make sure that whoever is helping you, they can commit to a very tight deadline, and they will be able to help you. And you should also like look for reviews and see how likely this is, because I think that it's very important to plan ahead and understand like what your visa situation is, like whether you are, you've been laid off and your visa is expiring or something like this. You need to be aware of how long this takes, and if you need to apply urgently, you should try to find somebody who can help you with this urgently. And in my experience, in my personal experience, I think that working with an individual coach is usually faster. You get more personalized help, and also you control the process more. And kind of, since you're working with somebody directly, you are in touch with them and you know who is working on your case. So I think it's more personal. So yeah, other than this being quick and intense, any other thoughts on the process, or any other thoughts on your experience? Anything that you wish somebody told you before, or any advice that you can share with people who are watching this or will be watching this later?
But basically, regarding the rejections, I actually also getting a lot of messages on the LinkedIn that like how you got that, like what helped you, what was helpful for you to build all these documents, and basically sharing the experience. Um, I think that all of them, they have the same, like when you're looking to the people experience, like experience of the people and what they achieve, like you think that yeah, everybody like looks like they're like can get this global talent. But the biggest problem is when you are building it yourself, you don't have exact experience previous rejection. So I clearly don't have, like, even to be honest, didn't work like on the especially on the review package. I think I would never know that what is the other rejection reasons, and by like writing the good thing in that way can make rejected because you are not clearly explaining it. It's super simple point, but somebody need to give you that, like, the feedback, because you don't know, because you think that it's super clear, and whoever will read it, it will be super clear for them as well. Or for example, sharing the media links. Honestly, like, I wouldn't even think about that. But what you suggest, that just Google it, and when you're Googling it, you see that, oh yeah, there's a lot of things that are appearing on the Google, and there's a lot of posts about it. So that's why, as it's like at least I think that I did like a whole day I invest on this, and I think that this 3 weeks was really like harsh. But even in that, it's like a lot of effort, a lot of hours you're investing on this. So that's why I would definitely go with like having someone with great experience that helped me to build is in a proper way. So I will just go one time. I will accept or reject it. I don't know, but definitely it will maximize my chance like as much as it's possible. And then if I will accept it, that's great. If I reject it, I will know that, yeah, that's maximum what I can. But now I see that people trying, retrying again and again, and that's it, the same problem. You are investing your time continuously, you don't know, and then you know that, okay, that's the reason I rejected. You're improving, applying again, another reason comes as a rejection. So better just do it once, and with like the proper feedbacks and the proper experience can help you to drive on this. So yeah, I mean, that would be really highly
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah, thanks so much for sharing this. I also hear this quite a lot. Obviously, a lot of people reach out to me who have tried applying on their own, or who have had some negative experiences with lawyers or agencies. And I think rejections are very difficult emotionally, and it's hard to hear that you aren't worthy of the visa. Or I think it's very hard to see when you work so hard on your documents and you get rejected, like on all of the criteria, which sometimes happens. It's heartbreaking for people, but I think you can always reapply, you can fix your documents and all of that. However, the thing that you cannot get back is the time that you lose if you are, either working with somebody who is doing things very slowly, or who has less experience and maybe not giving you the proper advice. So I think it's very important to do your own research, to, of course, research information online, understand this stuff, but also ultimately look at people who work in this space. There are many other people beside me, and find somebody who you like and you can work with them, because I also think that there should be a match between the client and the coach, so that you feel comfortable working together, and you can feel that you're getting maximum value out of this. But yeah, I think it's important to get support. Like I think I mentioned this a couple of times on this channel. I worked on the documents on my own, and I think it had its moments, like good moments was that I had to do my own research and investigate everything in this space that was available online, and there was much less information back then. So for me, it was a good motivation to later start sharing the information with others and raise awareness. But also, I think it felt very lonely. I spent much more time than I would have if I had a coach or somebody helping me right on this. So I think there are always like trade-offs, right? So I need to be aware of this. It's time or money, or sometimes both. So you need to be careful with this. Okay, so yeah, any other thoughts before we look into questions, or let's take a question and then we can finish up with
Sure.
anything that you want to share. And also, like, if you are watching this live, this I think like the last few minutes when you can get a chance to ask a question to Sabir. If you have questions for me, you can join the webinar next Monday, which is where I will be accepting questions. So we had one question here. So I'm in my second year of PhD from UK. How can I build my profile from this point to increase my chances of getting global talent? So yeah, I think here it's very hard to give advice like this on a live stream. I usually try to not to give personalized advice, outside of a context of a personalized consultation. But I think generally on my YouTube channel, I have a whole playlist about the global talent visa, where I talk about all of the criteria, all of the documents, which will give you an idea of what is acceptable, what is necessary. But I think if I would advise one thing, and maybe Sabir, you can also tell me, like, if you think about like this visa and what is important, I would advise to work on your public profile, especially, like, of course, we don't know what your background is. I would just say that you're doing a PhD. So maybe you would have a chance to go for the academic criteria. But then you would also need the other criteria, right? But in any case, you would need some public profile. So speaking at conferences, giving interviews, being public and known in the space, I think would really help. Yeah, I think this is like super high level advice without going into too much detail that can help. Okay. Yeah, I don't think we have anything else. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so we can wrap up then. Any other closing thoughts that you wanted to share with people who are thinking about applying?
Yeah, I think like if you're basically thinking that like it's you can get this visa, like you have at least hope, it's definitely worth to just have at least consultation, at least just discuss and understand that if it's worth to really apply. So that is the moment it can change actually, and it really impacts. It's not about like the only about the work, like you will have independency, but also at the same time you can get the citizenship if you want earlier, and it will give like the more better like big community. Because I, after getting endorsement, I saw that there's a huge community of the global talent visa holders, which is like meeting like great brilliant people. That was really nice also. So yeah, I think like it's really worth to try, and at least investigate, at least start from yourself to check the last 5 years, what you achieved, what you did, and then maybe it's actually your match for this. And then if you want to take a support, and definitely try it.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think very inspirational. Definitely believing in yourself and checking things out helps. I am a big proponent of talking to somebody who has experience in this space just to evaluate your profile. And I think discovery calls, like discovery session, is probably my number one, in terms of popularity, the service that I offer. So it's an hour call where we can just talk about your experience. We evaluate whether you have good chances of applying, of being endorsed or not. We talk about your achievements and your profile, what you have done, what you have, what you don't have, and I will just give you a good understanding of whether there are good chances for you to get endorsed or not, and then we can take it from there. Either work together on the visa, or you can go and work on it on your own, or sometimes, and unfortunately it happens, I think, more and more as it becomes harder and harder to get the visa. More of my calls end with me telling people that right now the chances of getting endorsed are very low. I don't enjoy such calls, obviously, because I do want people to get the visa, but also I do find it very important to give people honest feedback. And if there is very little chance of getting endorsed right now, I don't think it's fair to kind of raise somebody's hopes and get them to spend all the money and time to apply and then just to be rejected. So I always give advice like for the future, right? If you want to apply, but maybe it's 6 months, this is what you're going to do. And this is what we talk about in the discovery call, which I think is a good way to save yourself a lot of time and money potentially if you aren't sure and you don't want to do all of the research. But also if you want to do the research, the information is out there. I think you can learn a lot from free resources. And yeah, as I said, after you get the visa, you can join a couple of communities actually. So there is a Russian speaking community on Telegram. Then there is like an international one on Slack where, people who got the visa from other countries hang out as well. So you get access to a really strong community of people in the UK, which I think is a huge benefit for anybody who gets this visa. We actually had another question, but it was more personalized, kind of, specific to somebody's profile. I would encourage you, Osama, if you have this question, you can email me at this address. So it's nadia@middlehope.com. If you have personalized questions, if you want me to help you with the endorsement, that's the best way to reach me. I do find that people have trouble messaging me on LinkedIn for some reason. So this is, I think, the best way to reach to me. Yeah, I think that's it. We've covered all the ground. Thank you so much, Sabir, for your time today. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. I'm sure it will be very valuable to people.
Yeah, thank you so much. Like I know that like this 1-2 week this rep like continuously reviewing, it was really a terrible experience most probably. Like day and night sharing the feedback on the voice messages, and then that was, yeah, highly appreciate. Really, it was really helpful. I think that was a game changer moment. And after rewriting a couple of documents, I understood that, yeah, that I'm not a good writer in this case.
Oh, no, it's like, first of all, it wasn't terrible. It was just intense. And that's also what I'm used to. So the point of my work is that I try to do things very quickly because I know that it's very hard to wait for feedback. So if I have time, I just use my free time to review documents and send them back to the client so that you can iterate and move forward. So it wasn't terrible at all. And in terms of you being a bad writer, I would say that it's very common for people to have to rewrite documents after my initial feedback, at least like the first few ones, until you understand what is necessary. And then I think with each document, the documents keep getting better and better. So it's more about understanding what they want to see, because it's not just like writing an essay or, a letter. It's very specific things that they want to see. So yeah, I think it's quite a common experience. So nothing terrible on your side either. But yeah, I'm very happy that I could have helped you, and thank you so much, and congrats on getting endorsed.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Yeah, and thanks to everybody watching this. If you liked it and enjoyed it, leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment what you learned, what was useful about it, and have a nice evening. Bye.